Vicenç MARTI is going to talk to you about the opportunities for social casino in the Latin American territories. And a lot of ignorant Americans here, we always think about Latin America. That's Mexico, right? There's a much bigger part of Latin America than just Mexico. So some of his background, just to give you an idea, Cirsa, which is a land-based gambling company, which he was involved with prior to this. And he also was the chief operating officer of the Vueling airline, which he took public. So you can hit him up for upgrades if you're traveling in Europe later this year.
Still there.
And also, he's currently the CEO of Akamon, which is an amazing company. They're the leading social game company in Southern Europe and Latin America. And they have 35 multiplayer synchronous games that are up right now. Great games. I played a bunch of them. And about 8.5 million registered users. So over there, they own it. They're the leader in the space. And so I'm going to let him take it away. It's yours.
Thanks, George, like always. Thanks, guys, for being here. I know it's late. Let's talk a little bit about Latin America and overlooked markets in the social casino space. And you'll see a little bit the reasoning of what we're trying to do. We just blew our second anniversary candle. So this is what we have accomplished in the last 2 years and what's our view of the world, and rather what's our view of the emerging markets. This is who I am. I'm 44 years young. I am married with 2 kids. They're in fact there because I'm traveling with my family in California. I have a background, as George says, as a real money gambling guy. I also run an airline when I left the gaming industry and came back to found Akamon. When I'm not working, I'm either watching FC Barcelona games or having fun, like there in the picture. So what was the idea again? Remember, it's 2 years ago, and we decided to build a social casino gaming company that basically took this founding principle. We would stay away of the most lucrative markets, the US, the UK, and Canada. We would basically, at least initially, ignore Facebook, and we would very late to mobile. So that was our strategy. So you could say, what the fuck? This is what we did, okay? And how did we do that? Well, the first thing is that we don't think of ourselves as the best game producers or designers in the world. So basically, our idea is let's try to compete with there's nobody. In the US, in the UK, and Australia is all of you guys, and the rest of them up there, and the other ones that are not attending this conference. Great, go there if you want to. We prefer to go where we had first a market that made sense to us. So if you think about it, Southern Europe and Latin America have exactly the same language roots. So we operate in Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Italian. And when there was nobody there, nobody there. It's a huge market, and basically it is very difficult when asked about our industry press to people to name the second company doing what we do. We hope it stays like that for a long time, because that's where we leave our big competitive advantages. If you take the numbers, the same numbers that everybody speaks about, Morgan Stanley numbers, and you cut them by GDP and you adjust a little bit to lower GDP per capita, basically it boils down to that Southern Europe and Latin America, it's a $500 social gaming market today. Not a bad piece. Not a bad piece. And that's our addressable market. Why are we alone? The first reason why we think we're alone is because of this slide. This is why we believe Anglo-Saxon companies, US companies are not there. That's how you guys perceive Latin America. My particular favorite is Estados Unidos de cocaine, but you could pick any of those. I mean, at the end of the day, this is why most Americans, as soon as they cross the Rio Grande, they think business is too difficult. And it is, but not if you're there. What's the score so far? What have we been able to do in 2 years operating under this reasoning? Again, let me refresh your memories. By avoiding the most lucrative markets, staying away of Facebook canvas at the beginning, and going straight into Southern Europe and Latin America. So this is the scorecard so far. 2013 will be our second year. Our most conservative estimate is that we'll be finishing with 16 million euros in revenue, 1.2 US dollars, $1.2 million in run revenue. We've been growing for 17 months between 4% and 9% month on month. This is the average revenue per DAU, not too shabby. and our blended cost of acquisition is $26, and our lifetime value is $160. So it looks a little bit like the rest of the world. But there are some differences. One of them is that we were able to get noticed. I mean, at the end of the day, it is difficult to stand out in this industry where basically most people do slot games for females in the US 35 to 45. We were able to, when we were basically founding the company, to win the VentureBeat Award last year. Then EGR named us the Rising Star of the Year and gave us also the best bingo product. Our own employees chose us the best place to work, and you guys have been kind enough to wanted to listen to us in the industry conferences. So we've been able to stand out. In our view, it's been great 2 years, but we're only getting started. So this is the way we see emerging markets going forward. It is important to understand that a plan in emerging markets, just like in anywhere else, needs to have a product component, a platform component, distribution component, and a few bold bets, something that nobody else does. I was listening to our panel this morning, and somebody said, why don't you do something unique, something that nobody else does? And this is where we've attempted with a few things. I'll give you an example of one of them. The first thing that we do is, on the game side, we developed traditional games that you probably have never heard of: Chinchon, Tute, Truco, Belot, Scopa, Buraco, which are basically card games of each one of the local markets where we operate. And we acquire all our users using the left side games on the screen. Then we monetize them, no surprise, with what everybody else does: poker, bingo, roulette, blackjack, and slots. The second thing is that if you notice this social scene here, this is a moose game played in the street of Madrid and a truco game played in the streets of Buenos Aires. If you notice the social scene, the social interaction in the offline world is exactly the same. The cultural roots are so deep between Argentinians and Spaniards, or between Italians and Argentinians, or Portuguese and Brazilians, that the cultural roots are the same. If you translate that into game development, it basically means that when you develop one of these local games for one market, with a 20% additional development, you've got another game. So it brings huge economies of scale. One of the questions that I always get asked is, why do I have only, I only have right now 71 employees in my company, and I've already developed 36 games in 2 years. And people ask me, how do you do that? Well, we develop one game, we change 20%, we got another one. So that's the reason we do it. That's probably one of the boldest things we did at the beginning. It is to consider that there is life outside of Facebook. And people know that who my best friend in the industry is, and he hates me for that. Sean hates me for that. So it is very peculiar that we're great friends to each other when I'm putting that sort of slides on there. But at the end of the day, people in Latin America and Southern Europe still surf the normal web. .com destinations were completely out of fashion in these sort of conferences, still make money. Still make money. And you own the user. Obviously, naturally, we've moved into cross-platform. Right now, we have 10 apps on Facebook, 1 on mobile, 5 more to go before the end of the year. But at the end of the day, we didn't do cross-platform until we could execute on a vision that we had from the beginning, which is share liquidity, synchronous, true multi-platform. Meaning, one person can enter through a white label partner of ours, another one from mobile, another one from Facebook Canvas, and they can play the same game simultaneously. So there's been a lot of talk about synchronous platforms, but it's truly execution what differs. The next thing we did, obviously on .com platforms, although there is an opportunity to do the same thing on mobile and Facebook Canvas, is look for distribution partners. So our games can be played on Jeu.com, they can be played on Taringa, a little-known social network that has 70 million users in Latin America. We have the exclusive games tab for them. Our games can be played on UOL, which is one of our best partners. They can be played on Spiel Games, which is a large partner, and they can also be played on our own brands on .com destinations. So we do distribution in the old way. Just like in the 90s, you take planes, you shake hands, you reach agreements. This is me doing exactly that with the founder of Taringa. And you want to know how I got that deal? I was in a meeting, in a very boring meeting in Sao Paulo, and I don't know why somebody casually mentioned that Taringa was looking for a gaming partner. I pick up the phone, I call Hernan, that's his name, took a plane to Buenos Aires and got the deal. And today, we are the gaming partner of Taringa. So it's business development of old school business development. The next thing that you need to do when you operate in emerging markets is make sure that you understand how your users want to pay. Obviously, when you're operating on Facebook and mobile, especially on iOS, Android is a different issue. Facebook and Apple take care of that for you. They charge you 30%, which is not bad, but they take care of that. But when you operate on your own, you need to have direct relationship with these sort of guys, with Boa Compra, with Payment Test, with Dinero Mail. You need to understand what happens on the payment system scale. And we did that. The next thing, which is one of the bold things to do, is you need to understand within your emerging market strategy who is the 1,000-pound gorillas. In our case, it was Brazil. When we founded the company, we were basically a Spanish company from Spain. And then we immediately identified that traffic numbers from Brazil were much bigger than anything we've ever seen in Spain. So we decided to execute on Brazil and put Brazil at the center of our strategy. When I say put Brazil at the center of a strategy, it means go and take very bold steps, such as, for example, being the first online gaming company, social or not social, to do this game. Who knows what this game is? Somebody that has not listened to me in previous conferences. This is Jogo do Bicho. This is a game that is played in the favelas of Rio and Sao Paulo. It's made illegal by the Brazilian government, but people play it anyway. It's played on the streets. So we did Jogo do Bicho, and this is the execution of Jogo do Bicho on social. This is within one of our main partners, GamesDeck, owned by UOL. And you'll see it also in the next few days on mobile and Facebook Canvas. It's basically a lottery and a roulette combined with Brazilian themes. But that's what it means to be local, to understand what a local market is. The next thing is, although it has its own peculiar characteristics, mobile is unstoppable. Mobile is unstoppable even on the emerging markets. And you need to understand that in Brazil, for example, if we take the example of Brazil, there's millions of people that will never surf the web in their life using a PC. And it probably will be a cheap Android device, what they will use. So you need to adapt to that. So we went mobile. We launched our first mobile app 8 weeks ago. Average revenue per DAU is almost 3 times as much as we had on all our platforms combined. So that's encouraging. We are now moving a lot of effort into mobile. I know a lot of people saying that. We have a number. In our company, 75% of people work on the product side. Of that 75% of people that work on the product side, 75% work on mobile. So that's our commitment to mobile. And the fact that we had a stronghold on Portal gives us an additional benefit that we did not expect, and hopefully you guys will not tell anything to the people at Apple. It's the fact that people actually buy their chips on Portal and burn them on Apple, iOS, which basically means that since the revenue model of Apple today is based on chips bought, not burned, we're getting an additional 10% margin on that. This is how we see Akamon going forward. If we're not able to execute on this, we will have been a pleasant anecdote in the history of this young industry. Akamon needs to be mobile or more than 60% in less than 12 months. So at the end of the day, despite everything that I said until now, and having started on Portal and moved very fast, we see the dynamics on the market, and this is where we see. Mundijuego is our main portal, so that's our portal share expected. Then Facebook Canvas, where we have already 10 apps. We have the highest played Buraco on Facebook and the highest played Dominoes on Facebook today. And we will want to cover all the bases of local and traditional games and give a run for their money to all of you guys on casino games and then mobile. And what happens on the real money side in emerging markets, which at the end of the day, it's basically people that acquire all of us? Well, if you think about it, Southern Europe, which is our main market, with Latin America, and Latin America are naturally hedged to each other. Southern Europe has 3 of the most heavily regulated markets in the world, France, Italy, and Spain. And it's combined with Latin America, where there's apparently no regulation and no real money. We'll see what happens. At the end of the day, one of them grows fast, which is Latin America, social or real money, whatever you want to put, and the other 3 are more mature and with higher acquisition costs. So at the end of the day, I don't know if we were lucky or good or both. I think we were lucky. our two main markets, Southern Europe and Latin America, are naturally hedged from a real money perspective. What does that mean, however? Is truly Latin America a non-operating market for real money? Not true. This site is live today, it's not being spoken about in industry conferences, and it has IGT products running on the back. This is Mexico. I haven't read an article that says that Mexico has legal real money gambling. Well, this is happening today. So in my opinion, and this is my personal view, real money gambling in Latin America will go much faster than what people expect. Brazil, huge market. Mexico. I mean, at the end of the day, Mexico is operating under the legal radar, if I can coin that expression. Then Brazil, Mexico, Colombia. Colombia has already hired consultants and lawyers in order to start drafting a regulated model, which apparently, fortunately to us, seems to be very similar to Spain. And the other countries in Latin America will follow suit. At the end of the day, we know that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Codere, big real money company there in the region. At the end of the day, we expect that our position in Southern Europe, and most importantly in Latin America, will make us a player that people would be interested in talking to. Let's put it that way. And that's how we are, that's the bet we're making in the company. However, if that doesn't work, in the meantime, we're having a lot of fun. And to you guys, I say thank you very much, and keep calm and keep playing bingo. Thank you to all. So you guys have questions on Latin America?
More of a question of your switch from being a desktop portal destination to mobile.
Yeah.
What tools are you using?
Look, at the end of the day, it's in process. But what we know is that it has several components. First of them, we are developing two tracks of games. Some of them that are, let's say, King.com sort of strategy adaptation of our best portal games and with new testing and everything. And different teams are starting games from scratch. And we're testing the waters on both. Okay? In terms of analytical tools and online marketing tools and everything, usual standard. All our analytical hardcore database is homemade. We started from the beginning. And at the end of the day, we are consolidating CRM systems and retention systems between Portal, Facebook Canvas, and mobile. I don't know if that partially answered your question. To localize? No, you cannot put something in English. No. You could, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a matter of scarcity. If you are the only international real money player that dares to put a site in Brazil and it's only in English and people really want to play you, they will. Otherwise, if there is more than one offer, people would like to heavy localization. Even Castilian Spanish is not acceptable in Venezuela or Argentina. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. Localization, it's different in every market. Payment systems are different in every market. Affiliates are different in every market. You cannot take Latin America as a one whole look. Even that slide is more precise than what some people do that take Latin America as a whole.
Between the different jurisdictions that you do business in, do you run into problems with payment and currency controls and everything like that?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, currency is a nightmare in Latin America to begin with. I mean, in Latin America, you basically have two sets of countries that are stable and growing. I would point out to Peru, Chile, and Colombia now, lately. Brazil is in the middle, but it's so big that you cannot ignore it. And then you have countries that are extremely attractive, but hugely problematic, such as Venezuela and Argentina. We had to actually call our board members 60 days ago because they are receiving daily reports on our revenue. And Venezuela and Argentina revenue dropped by 60% because of devaluations in one day. And you adjust later and you modify prices and things like that, but currency is a huge issue.
You see a lot of fraud down there? Is it sophisticated? Unsophisticated?
Look, I mean, we're from Spain, so at the end of the day, Spaniards, Italians, no, not really, not much than you would expect. I mean, Portal, social casino has fraud on the whale side, basically people complaining that this was not their charge and everything, chargebacks. But I've compared with my peers in Anglo-Saxon markets, it's about the same. I can disclose it. We are right now about 2%. So I think it's industry standard. Sorry, I could not hear you. No, that's a very good question. Look, we've been, at the end of the day, you need to decide who you are. Are we a developer plus publisher, or only a publisher? We see ourselves as developer plus publisher, no surprise. We have, right now a big studio in Valencia, another studio in Barcelona, which is our headquarters, and we just acquired a new company which we'll be disclosing in the next, I hope, 6 weeks, also in the Mediterranean, but not in Spain. We have done some sort of publishing to acquire deal, meaning if we find a brilliant developer of a game that we think we cannot do ourselves, what we do is a formula that I'm not going to go right now deep into. If you're interested, we'll follow up, which is basically we publish your game, but we take an option to buy you. Because that's at the end of the day, we don't, I think Congregate is a fantastic business model, but we don't see ourselves there. Yes? Well, real money apparently does not exist in Latin America. So that's the first. I mean, payments in Latin America are a pain in the ass. So in social, they are specifically a pain in the ass because of the high commissions, especially on SMS. And a lot of customers, I mean, Latin America, if you want to think of the internet in general, think of the US. 2 years after the US is the UK. 2 years after the UK is continental Europe. And 2 years after continental Europe is Latin America. So they're still dealing with, I want to pay there. And when they want to pay, they usually want to wet their feet using SMSs. Now, the telcos, the Carlos Slim surcharge in Latin America, means that you will be paying 50% on SMSs. But when you start getting into there and negotiating deal by deal, you obviously can lower that.
How do you start from like an airline company and then get into the social gaming?
I was a real money gambler. I stayed 6 years in the largest real money gaming company for Spain and Latin America called Cirsa. It's almost a 3 billion euro company right now. I was the CEO of several of the divisions. I've always loved gaming. Then I went to run an airline and then come back to gaming. It's not that.
How much did you pour in initially for the government in Latin America?
You mean the company itself? The company has only been funded with 1.5 million euros. And the cash position in the company today is 1.5 million euros. So we've turned money around so far.
You mentioned that you bring these synchronous games, social games to web.
Yes.
And you also launched now a mobile game. Is this also such a game? Or
That's correct. Yes.
how is actually the problem with connections? So sometimes connections might get interrupted, people are cut off.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But we try to take a very pragmatic view. I mean, if they get cut and there is a customer complaint, we will compensate them. We're trying obviously to minimize. At the end of the day, we are firm believers in shared liquidity synchronous games, especially in games where it makes sense. I mean, poker and bingo obviously come to mind. We are finding out that it is very good to having that as an objective, but in some games you might compromise. It's okay. But the reason we didn't go into true cross-platform before is we couldn't execute on that, and we were sure we could. We're doing it. I mean, I invite you to play one of our games with somebody else, one from Fabius Canvas, one from our portal, one from mobile. It works. It works. Okay, sorry, they're making me cut. Thank you to all. Thank you so much.